Hey y'all, Fat Man Outdoors. I want to do a video today and let's discuss full-length resizing and headspace. For a long time there's been a huge argument of whether to full-length resize or just to neck size. And both fields of thought are correct. The one that we all kind of shudder away from and don't put a whole lot of emphasis on, which is actually the most important one, is headspace. And we're going to take a look at what makes a difference in our headspace when we're doing full-length resizing. So I'm going to move the camera so we can look at some things and we'll go through it. Now, if you want a quick way to start a proverbial bar fight amongst shooters or reloaders, there's two ways to do it, okay? And the number one way is, this is a clip and this is a magazine. Weird thing is, guys like it, love it, hate it, whatever, I can show you at least 50 different advertisements from the manufacturers that call box magazines clips. So works both ways. But I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because that's way too deep for what I want to do today. So we'll get those out of the way and forget all about those and don't even think about them. Okay. So now the other way is full-length resizing. And that's what these are. These are full-length resizing dies. This one is for 243, this one's for 4570. Now, there's two schools of thought when you're full-length resizing. Now, number one school of thought is do exactly what the booklet says to do. And if you look at the manufacturer's data for full-length resizing die, it tells you that to screw the full-length resizer in until it touches the shell holder, then lower the ram and screw the die in 1/4 to 1/3 turn more, raise the ram and tighten the lock ring finger tight. Now, getting it exactly 1/4 or exactly 1/3, you're not going to do that. So what happens in that range? What does that do? What that does is when you set that extra turn, that's bumping the shoulder. Now when you bump the shoulder, like say on 308 that we're going to look at, when you bump that shoulder it changes the headspace because that round headspace is off of the datum line on the shoulder. And I'll show you what I mean by that just in a minute. But if you set these up that way, all these dies that you buy, and there's a lot of different brands that make dies, a lot of different companies make dies, they all may not be the same. They're supposed to be. All this stuff is supposed to be SAMI spec, which SAMI specs is Sporting Arms and Ammunition Manufacturing Institute. They're supposed to set a standard that everybody's supposed to make their reloading equipment, their guns, and their ammunition within a certain tolerance, so that factory stuff should basically work in any gun that's chambered in that chamber and do it safely. But the question comes in when you start reloading. So I'm going to move the camera again and we're going to look at this a little bit different and I'm going to show you some stuff. So hang on just a sec. Okay, now, so what I wanted to get at here was that with the 308 that I'm going to show you, these rounds, they don't have a rim on them. They're rimless rounds. So this area right here is called a datum line. Okay, it's about middle of the shoulder, and that's what the gun headspace is off of. And when I say headspace, I know most of y'all already understand what that means, but I'll explain it real quick. It's the distance between the rear of the cartridge and the face of the bolt. And if there's too much distance between that, then the bullet is, when you fire it, the case is going to expand too much trying to reach the datum line and the bolt, and it will expand the cartridge too much and the cartridge will separate at the head, and you don't want that to happen. That's a bad thing. So what you have to watch for is you have to watch for rounds that are out of spec as far as headspace. So now, if you take a tool like this one, which is called case comparator, made by Hornady. Now, if I open this up and I put a 308 case that's been fired through my Remington 308, and I get that seated real good, get that seated in there, and then I zero it. Now, this is my chamber size. This round was fired in my rifle, so I know this round is the same size as the chamber of my rifle. So now let's take one of these new factory 308s and let's put it in there and see what that shows. Get it seated real good. See, that's coming about 3.5. It's bouncing back and forth between 3 and 3.5 and 4. But that means that this factory round is 0.003 shorter than my chamber, which is the empty case that had been fired in my rifle that we just zeroed this by. So that means that when you fire this factory round in my rifle, the case is going to expand by 0.003 of an inch, so 3/1000ths of an inch here right in front of the head. It's going to expand that much. That's not too much, but you get some of these that you don't know what rifle they were fired out of. Now, if you're like I am and you're a brass picker at a range, this is important, and here's why. All these 308 rounds right here have been picked up at the range. I don't know what gun shot these. I have no clue. But they're all 308. Some of them are military loaded 308s. Let's put one of these in this comparator and see what it shows. Now, that case is about 0.0055 smaller than my chamber. It's full length resize it, and I don't bump the shoulder back at all. I'm going to be sitting at 4/1000ths. Well, if I bump the shoulder back just a little bit, then I'm going to be probably getting into a dangerous situation, because 4/1000ths is pretty close. Let's check a few more of these. See, now that one's 6. That's 6.5 shorter than my chamber. So if that round is loaded and shot through my chamber, that's going to be pretty close to right at the limit before the chances of you having case separation happens. A lot of people will argue with you that it'll fire form out. Now see, down there's one that's 2.5 to 3. Now that one's one that doesn't have a military designation on it. Now that one is about 6.5 thousandths shorter than mine. So somebody's pushed the shoulder way back on this one. So now if we fired this in my gun, then that means that this cartridge is already, before I haven't even resized it yet, it's already going to stretch 6.5 thousandths right there. And to be honest, you're getting just about to the point of that's too far. Exceedingly great possibility of case head separation. You start getting up past 6 thousandths. That's a pretty good jump. That one's looks like it's going to be about the same, 6.5. Okay, now I'm got to make a choice. Do I neck size these or do I full length resize them? The problem with that is, not knowing the gun they were fired in, I don't really know what the diameter is going to be of these cases and a lot of other dimensions. So I'd have to sit down and do a whole lot of measuring on every single one of them to make sure that I wasn't going to get one that didn't fit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to full length resize these, but I'm going to do it in a way that it will not push the shoulder back anymore. I'm not going to set my full length resize die up the way that Lee says to. So I'll show you what I mean. I'll move the camera again and I'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Alright, so what I've done is I've put my shell holder in the ram for my 308s, and I've got my die just started in. Now what the instructions tell you to do: bring your ram all the way up, then screw the die down until it contacts the ram. Then lift the ram, then it tells you to turn it 1/4 or 1/3 turn more, and then push the ram down to hold it in place, and then tighten your nut, finger tight. Now this is what the manufacturer tells you to do. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of the cases that was fired in my rifle so that I know this is my chamber and that this is what the actual size of the inside of my chamber is whenever I fire a round. Now I'm going to completely full length resize. Alright. Now I'm going to get my, remember we zeroed this to what my chamber is. And that's about right. It's 3/1000ths less than what my chamber is. So that's just about perfect out. If I loosen my ring, it's hard to do now with this case lube on my fingers. Now I'm going to loosen my ring, and if I back this die out, or I'll tell you what, let's do. I'm going to raise my ram, and I'm going to come in contact with the die, and I'm actually going to back it up 1/4 of a turn. Okay. Now this one comes out to pretty much exactly the same thing as my chamber is right now. It was like 0 to 0.0005. So now let's resize this one all the way up, and let's see what this one comes out at. Now that one didn't set the shoulder back maybe 2/1000ths. So that's about perfect. That's where you want to stay. But again, you can adjust your full length resizing die to where you're not pushing the shoulder back too far. So like I said, it's important to look at your brass, especially if you're reloading. When you pick that brass up, when you take it home, measure it. Get you a bullet comparator or a case comparator. These aren't very expensive. They're about 35 bucks, and they'll measure everything. Buy the anvil with it when you get it, because it makes it a lot easier to square your round up than just putting it against the top of your caliper. But the little from, I believe it's from RCBS, a precision mic, maybe is what it's called. The little one that screws apart and you just put the case in, screw it back together. But either one of those two will help you measure these cases and keep you from having a problem. Because if you're going to reload, you need to pay attention to stuff like this, because number one, you need to be safe first. Every shot you take should start on this bench. You should make sure everything was right from start to finish, because you may have a loved one or a friend or somebody, just a buddy there with you that's wanting to shoot, and let me try your gun out, you know, and you let him get down on the bench on it and got a gun that's got too much headspace and the bolt blows out the back. It's not good. Won't be good. So just pay attention. Get you a bullet comparator or get you one of the precision mics. Use that thing. You as a reloader and you as a shooter and a gun owner need to be responsible and make sure that they are. Because when you got ones that are too short, cull them out. You know, if you've got one like some of these that we got here that was 2.5, 3, 3.5, I'll keep those. and then when I shoot them the next time, they'll be fire forming to my chamber, and I'll adjust this so that I can full length resize them without pushing the shoulder back too far. A responsible shooter and a responsible reloader read the stuff that people's put out about this, pay attention, do it correctly, take your time. Don't worry about loading so fast and getting everything done so you can get to the range and start shooting again. Make sure every step is checked, but that headspace needs to be primary, number one thing that you're looking at. Alright guys, I appreciate y'all watching, and hope to catch you in the next video. Got a lot more stuff coming. I've got about 7 or 8 different brands of pellets ordered so that we can do some accuracy testing with that Fusion Whisper and see which pellet shoots the best, so you guys will know which ones are the best and which ones are crappy, if there any of them is crappy. But we're going to get to that just as soon as all this dadgum rain stops. Going to do some fishing too as soon as all the rain stops. And I appreciate you all. I really, really do. I hope I can keep doing stuff that's entertaining to you and somewhat redneck educational to you. This is the Fat Man, and I'm gone. Hey guys, if you like the video, hit subscribe. Don't forget to click that bell so you get notifications the next time we put out a video. Appreciate you. It's the Fat Man. I'm gone.